La plena is somewhat of a departure because it doesn't really belong to the body of folklore that developed in the late 18th and 19th century in Puerto Rico. La plena is a fairly modern, sometimes folkloric, more times popular form of music that has more of an African influence. Whether it was what happened after a storm where people were left without their houses and they were just roaming around, destitute. It would tell you about a storm. It could talk about a beautiful girl who rejected her suitors, who was very coquettish, and eventually one of her suitors got so jealous that he cut her face, like in Cortaron Elena, which literally means Elena has been cut, which actually took place in, I believe it was the western part of Puerto Rico. I believe it was Aguadilla or Mayagüez. A true story that was made into a plena because beautiful Elena, which was her name, rejected this young man. He became angry, came back with a knife and cut her face, something which is really a real tragedy in Puerto Rico, that a woman would be cut in the face because, after that, you're considered to be a woman of the world because your face is cut, This was long before plastic surgery, So, so the plena also goes into that tradition of taking stories, taking traditions and putting them to music, where the people can enjoy them without necessarily having to read them, reading these stories in the newspapers. Because it could deal with something very local, or it could deal with an event that has world ramifications at the level of internationalism. A president getting elected, a pope. There's all kinds of plenas that tell all kinds of stories at both, the local level and also the broader level as well.
Can you give us an example of a plena?
This one here, temporal, the plenas always begin with a 4-line verse, similar to the aguinaldo. So this is the Spanish influence, that they begin with the Spanish copla. And they don't have titles, but you usually know what the plena is about from those first 4 lines that are sung by the plenero. And of course, it's usually in a 2/4 beat. It's a very simple melodic structure. The coro, or the refrain, will go, temporal, temporal, allá viene el temporal, 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 allá viene el temporal. ¿Qué será de Puerto Rico cuando venga el temporal? ¿Qué será de Puerto Rico cuando venga el temporal? So it repeats, temporal, temporal. There's a storm, there's a storm. The storm is coming. What's going to happen to my dear Puerto Rico when the storm hits, when the storm strikes? So the whole idea here is, of course, to tell a story. It could be sad, it could be humorous, but the idea is that the plena is a herald. It's a way of sometimes it's called the newspaper that sings. So you can see that it's very much a part of this tradition of orality, particularly when the written word was not around. The spoken word in La Plena, the spoken word in the aguinaldo and other forms of Puerto Rican music is manifest going back centuries.